Um, like I said, just a minute longer and give everyone a chance to log in. Bear with us. All right, we're going to get started. Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon to others. It's high noon here on the East Coast in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Bob Buchanan, the EVP of Sales and Marketing for RapidScale, and this is the August version of our partner sales training. In July, we covered the anatomy of a deal, which is a theme that you'll continue to hear about. I'm very focused on educating the partner community on how RapidScale is winning, who we're winning with, and the trickle-down value, obviously, to the marketplace and our customers. Today, though, we're focused on kind of selling Cloud 101. Really, the message, though, is a little bit more targeted than just, I guess, a 101 series. May not have been the best title in hindsight, but what I'm going to speak to you about today is some of the macro trends that are happening, and then, really focus in on where RapidScale fits in that macro environment, who is really the ideal profile customer, and how you can capitalize on that opportunity with us to win, drive sales, and obviously service your client. So if you have questions throughout the session, please email them directly to marketing@rapidscale.net. Summer, our marketing manager, will be helping me out with some of those questions, and we'll get those over to me through chat. And we'll get those answered at the end. And with that, we'll get going. So I guess I'll say this will be recorded, and we'll send it out as well with the deck within 24 hours of the session. So kind of the agenda, I already hit it a little bit, but the cloud landscape, right? The macro environment, what trends are we seeing? And you know what, the term I like to use, cloud confusion. It creates challenges for us, but it's also creating tremendous opportunity. And then what is that opportunity? Well, we like to think it's an underserved market. There's an underserved market that's available for us, and we'll describe that with the customer profile, challenges, and how to identify these deals. I'll quickly cover some of the enablement tools that are available for you. We'll talk strategies and best practices. We'll hit a recent client win, kind of a mini anatomy of a deal, and then we'll wrap it up with just covering today's national sales team across the country for RapidScale and some of the ambitious hiring plans that we currently have in place. So just a quick reminder for those of you that know us well, this is probably common knowledge and a refresh, but if you're just getting introduced to RapidScale, wanted to just let everyone know what the core offerings are that we're focused on. So if you think cloud desktop there, the top left, the ability to manage the desktop experience down to the end user and virtualize that environment just like you would a virtual server in the data center. Cloud server, think infrastructure as a service, and multi-tenant delivering servers over the internet in a multi-tenant capacity. Cloud recovery, disaster recovery as a service, and we certainly are a leader there. Cloud mail, we've got our own hosted exchange or native hosted exchange platform, which we sell a ton of. We also will support Office 365 in a managed capacity. Cloud backup, and then cloud office. Similar to cloud desktop, folks, designed a little bit for a little bit smaller business that maybe isn't as feature rich, but more cost effective. And then cloud security, which is a suite of services that really complements the overall portfolio. Some quick market statistics. So top here, more than 90% of current customer demand for cloud comes from replacing or upgrading existing non-mission critical applications from the creation of new digital businesses. The last thing I want to do is read these bullets. I think everyone, it's pretty self-explanatory, but what is actually happening with the digital transformation in this economy, being the United States, but also worldwide, is truly amazing. Data is growing incredibly at a rapid pace, and the in-house IT departments can't handle it themselves. Thus, third-party outsourcing options are critical. And if you looked right down at the bottom, another one that just sticks out, just thinking about the public cloud services. And when we think public cloud, getting into definitions, what we're thinking about is Amazon, we're thinking about Azure, we're thinking about Google. These are the public cloud or hyperscaler markets, and they're growing at a tremendous pace. But as we'll talk about, they can't service all needs of every customer. And by the way, because of the 900-pound gorilla, there's a lot of companies that are either aligned with them, partnering in a partner capacity, or they're taking up a tremendous amount of share that these, I call them utilities, can't actually offer themselves. So you see some trends around colo. There's a big difference in the colo business on a retail and wholesale market, which we'll get into. And then Fortune 500 companies. I think a lot of people, I bet if I asked and took a poll of everyone on the call, who are the trailblazers? Is it the small business, the enterprise, the mid-market? There's been a lot of study on this, and really it's been the enterprises. The enterprises were the cloud trailblazers. They led the charge. And there's been positive benefits to that, but there's also been difficulties like cloud sprawl and shadow IT. And then the last bullet there, 2016, the aggregate amount of cloud shift reached 111 billion and estimating 216 by 2020. Those are really big numbers, but if you think cloud shift, think moving from traditional IT platforms to as-a-service platforms. So we tweeted this out a couple weeks ago. This comes right from a Gartner report, and we think this graph really says a lot, and it says a lot of positive things when you think about RapidScale's positioning. So it's shaped like a clock, and if you think about 12 noon, you're talking market inception, and as you move clockwise along this diagram, you kind of get from market inception into what they call the dawn of standards. Cloud standards are maturing. I think we were in a marketplace a few years ago where there was very little. You move into what they're referring to as the zenith of industrialization or market peak. And as you move past 6 o'clock and get into more commoditized marketplaces, all the way to getting maybe where you're facing an obsolete market, maybe replacement, and eventually to midnight. And we won't spend a ton of time going over every one of these sectors, if you will, but you'll notice there's co-location kind of sitting at, what is that, 9:30 maybe. The marketplace is facing tremendous pressure. There was, just a decade ago, we had a huge supply and demand imbalance in the colo market where, a lot of companies were running for co-location, 1 cabinet to 5 cabinets, 10 cabinets. That's kind of the retail space, if you will. And there wasn't enough supply to meet that demand. And it was great for those suppliers because they really could set the price. And that's really flipped. There's a large amount of capacity. Demand is still there. It's just at a slowing rate. And you can see what's happening to that sector. In contrast, look at the 2 o'clock, 1:30 kind of slot there, and you'll notice the DaaS marketplace. Well, we talk desktop as a service as a core pillar to RapidScale's offerings, and we really believe that there are great days ahead, and it looks like Gartner agrees. And what this is essentially suggesting is that we're going to have 2 to 5 years until we get to the zenith of industrialization, or really what would be 6 o'clock on this graph. We're seeing tremendous market acceptance now. We're seeing a lot of growth, but we're anticipating significant growth in the months to years ahead, which is incredibly exciting. both for us and it should be for you. When you think DaaS, though, you'll notice that there's also, there's VDI and some other things here that sound similar to DaaS. Well, think about the enterprise. They got there first. They were the trailblazers. Well, they deployed virtual desktops in the enterprise and managed themselves. The marketplace is now beginning to leverage third-party organizations to do that for them, especially kind of down market, especially into what I would classify as maybe small business, mature small business, and into the small to medium enterprise. And those markets, as we'll talk about, in my opinion, have been somewhat underserved. Interestingly enough, you'll notice that disaster recovery as a service is also in, kind of right there at the dawn of standards and has that 2 to 5 year window for a lot of maturation, and we're excited about that as well because it also is a core pillar. And as I mentioned earlier, confusion does present opportunity. So speaking of confusion, what does the competitive environment look like? I actually don't have enough space on one slide to talk to everyone about cloud confusion. I'm sure that you understand the concept. There's all different types of companies. When we head out to channel partners in Vegas, every year in the February, March timeframe, it amazes me as I walk the floor and I look at all these different companies. And for the life of me, I certainly don't know. I've been doing this for in the technology space for 20 years. For the life of me, I don't know what all of them do. And again, that if I don't know, that the average IT leader and CIO is probably having some of the same challenges. But as it relates to the managed cloud and data center space, right, the competitive environment, you can narrow it down a little bit, but it's still confusing. And you've got some really big players out there. I just named a few. If you think about AWS, right, it's projected to be $20 billion in revenue 2018, pretty unbelievable. Definitely the leader. Azure, Google, they're all fighting for market share, and these are the hyperscalers. And I look at these. Initially, they were test dev environments, but now, really companies with very mature software development organizations, i.e., the enterprise, or very specialized B2B, B2C, internet-centric organizations with strong development shops. They're writing code in these platforms, and sometimes it's hard to pull production out. The traditional IT shop that may be servicing the brick and mortar business, it's a little bit hard to get there. And it takes a lot of labor to understand those environments. You got CheerPoint, you've got Peak 10 via West. They just announced the merger, should be pretty interesting. I think you'll see further consolidation in the space. I think everyone knows Rackspace, right? Pretty big brand in the traditional managed hosting, and they're moving their model. They're trying to help customers actually get to the hyperscalers. And then you got big colo, right? Big colo like an Equinix that really they're not shy. They want to sell you power, ping, and pipe, and they want to give you direct access to the network exchanges. And how do you understand what are the deployment options? Is it pure colo? Is it retail or wholesale? Well, wholesale, we talked 5 to 10 cabinets on the colo side. Wholesale is going to be those multi-megawatt deals, and that's a growing market. And it's because a lot of these cloud guys are driving it. You get to more managed cloud. RapidScale fits in the managed cloud very well. That's really what the sector we would fit in best. There's other guys and other folks that are there as well, especially when amongst the competitors I manage, but they look different. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You certainly have the hyperscalers. Hey, I can swipe a credit card in Amazon. I can scale lots of compute. I can bring that compute down and have high elasticity. Lots of pros, and certainly there are some cons. And then what's the difference between private and public and hybrid? I'm sure everyone's kind of understands, or at least is familiar with those terms, but private cloud being, network resources defined and designated to one customer, public cloud being, these large hyperscaler clouds, and then hybrid is some level of combination, the management of workloads in both those environments, a heterogeneous environment, public and private. But what are the challenges? I mean, all these guys have variable pricing models. It's going to have unpredictable billing. There's a large target market, right? I mean, some of these guys will do, they'll go after small business, medium business, large business, and really I don't agree. I think they need a stronger identity, because working for, I've been in this market, I've worked for some of these organizations, I'm very familiar with them, and I think at their best, right, where they win, where they service well, they each have kind of their own brand and identity. And we, by the way, we feel we do as well, and we'll drive into that. The support models vary. Some of these guys are going to, at Equinix, we talked about colo, you're going to get very little. At RapidScale, at Rackspace, they're into high volume. It's a very defined model that is designed to scale for high volume, lots of customers. Well, there's going to be a lack of flexibility in that model, right? And then you typically are going to have in-house tech support to even communicate with these guys, meaning I got to have an engineer or an admin if I'm a customer to actually talk to them, because they're not really good with dealing with end users. And really that gets into where's the opportunity for us. So what does all this mean? All this confusion's happening while organizations, especially again in that small to medium business market, is moving from traditional IT, buying hardware, managing it with their four walls, purchasing perpetual licensing, doing that with CapEx, and having on-site management and support, whether that being their team or maybe an MSP, right? And then moving that to a consumption-based IT model. The buying behavior is definitely changing. And where the opportunity lies is becoming a trusted advisor and being able to help them navigate to this consumption-based model or OpEx model. So the underserved market, I mean, as I mentioned, the trailblazers were the enterprise, and that's not my opinion. That is definitely a perceived notion among many of the analysts. They got big budgets, technical resources. They can communicate with the big guys. They've got large development teams, and they can create very sophisticated ecosystems, especially within the hyperscalers. The small to mid-market organizations have been underserved, and just a quick example of that, I got into the co-location managed hosting business back in 2003. And from 2003, honestly, right up until probably 2010, small customers would call us and say, look, I got a file server, maybe an application server. Can you help me manage share file, for example? Can you take end user support and help all my end users kind of get into that environment and manage those files? And do you have a mail solution? And I'll tell you what, that was a tough customer for us to handle. I could give you the server, I could give you the operating system, I can manage your firewall, but really managing up the technology stack and then extending that into the end user, that was difficult. And it wasn't just difficult for the company that I worked for, it was difficult for the competitors as well. Due to just the cloud maturing, and I think we're seeing it, is that the market is adopting cloud services and RapidScale's core value prop very, very nicely and very, very quickly. So that leads me to, who is that customer? What's their profile? Well, I don't want to pigeonhole us and say, hey, I don't have any customers, or we don't have any customers that kind of meet this persona, if you will, because we do, and we can handle them. We can handle a few that are smaller. We certainly have ones that are bigger. But when I think of organizations that fit within that 100 to 2,000 users, they've got a limited IT staff, or maybe even none. That actually does happen, believe it or not. And IT is probably considered a cost center. It's not overly strategic to the core of the business. These look like professional service firms. They're healthcare organizations, attorneys and law firms, finance and accounting, manufacturing, logistics, retail, hospitality, construction organizations. And where we come into these organizations is we can say, hey, we'll extend our 24/7 support, that help desk service, and talk directly to your end user. We understand some of the challenges that you have in a lot of these organizations. Because they don't have a development staff, they're buying third-party applications and supporting them within their own environment. Could be something like QuickBooks, right? Could be something maybe a little bit more vertical focused and sophisticated, like a software package like Epic. RapidScale is not, we don't write code, but we have experience, and we will go up the technology stack and help those organizations support those applications. That's a big differentiator. And it's an example of just being flexible and understanding where these guys are struggling. So we consider that to be, hey, we want a high touch business model, right? We want the customer to understand that we truly are an extension of what they're doing day to day. And then, we're a reliable resource for migrations. It's really easy to say, come partner with us. And then the common question is, well, how do I get there? And not many providers have a really good answer. And we'll get our hands dirty and get involved with our migration methodology and practice and help those customers move those workloads and those servers to RapidScale. So what's the opportunity for you? As a RapidScale partner, I think there truly is an opportunity to continue branding yourself as a trusted advisor. The more you can get away from the speeds and feeds discussion and talking about the challenges these organizations are actually having, and what are some of the commonalities, and the more that we can provide you what those look like through, for example, the anatomy of a deal type sessions, you can then engage with us to help you with the discovery. But it's like I mentioned earlier, most everyone out there, nobody really wants servers in their office, and if they do, it's because they just haven't figured out how or where to go. Moving traditional IT to an as a service model, helping your customer navigate through that confusion. And by the way, down market in this space, there's limited competition. Some of these organizations, the examples that I gave you in the marketplace, they're not well equipped to serve down market. These guys want $15,000 a month deals at the low end, and 100K, 200K plus deals. That's where they're focused. We love those deals too, but we're going to take singles and doubles all day long. 2,500, 5,000, 10K. Those are great wins, and we're going to capitalize on that market, and there's limited competition. So what's actually happening? These organizations, as I mentioned earlier, limited IT staff. But you know what? Their risk is increasing. Why? Because more and more data is going online. And they're likely faced with customers or regulations that are requiring them to keep data longer to protect it. How do they do it? They want to remain competitive. As technology evolves, the smaller organization, the smaller company, regardless of the vertical, they're able to become competitive with some of their larger counterparts. Well, how do they do that? How do they get the technology expertise to accelerate that? The decentralized workforce. More and more people are working from home. How do you do that securely? Licensing costs. The maintenance contracts and licensing costs, there's so many fat margins, but it's also a massive expense. How do these organizations deal with that more efficiently? It's a lot easier to just upgrade your license when you're buying it in an OpEx capacity, such as Microsoft's SPLA versus perpetual license. The upgrade path is easier, and the support models are a lot more efficient, especially when it's not core to your business. Reducing labor costs, maybe dealing with an outsourced IT provider, such as an MSP. MSPs are interesting. We have a lot of partners that are MSPs. There's natural synergies between a managed service provider and a company like RapidScale, but you know what? There's no use in running from it. At times, there could be, we could be a threat. There could be a competitive situation where that MSP may offer services that we offer, and quite frankly, we may offer greater value. So it's an interesting dynamic in the market. And then compliance and security, huge. Everyone's talking. The common question is, hey, I'm concerned about security in the cloud. I think you're going to continue to see less and less of that. There's so many organizations running to the cloud. The reality is the cloud companies are getting pretty darn good at protecting their customers, because if they don't, they've just got too much to lose, and we're no different. Bring your own device. I haven't met a millennial yet that is really cool with us giving them an 11-pound laptop to take home. It's not going to happen. As we continue to bring younger generations into the workforce, this is going to be a bigger stress on your organization. And then I left you with some common questions to ask. Again, I won't read every one of them, but they kind of fall into the common challenges theme. Sales enablement tools. We could have a session for sales, our sales training on each one of these. but just from a 30,000 foot view, what's available to you? So RapidScale Online has our cloud university. There we give our partners the opportunity. It's content that's designed for partners. We give them the opportunity to take a deeper dive into RapidScale's core offerings in our portfolio, get educated, understand both at a basic level and some of the fundamentals to a more advanced training. We conduct discovery workshops. We'll do some of these kind of more generic and broad, all the way down to coming in and sitting down with a small, more intimate group of partners and really doing a deep dive. Our partner portal, the opportunity to log into that portal, and there's a tremendous amount of content around the RapidScale core value prop, but also each one of our service offerings. And you can co-brand those. You can do that yourself right within this portal. And by the way, that portal is available to everyone who is a RapidScale partner, and that marketing at rapidscale.com, they'll get you set up. Targeted, or I should say your channel manager as well, but either one of those routes will be fine. Targeted webinars, right? Today is a little bit more of a generic sales-based webinar, but we can do very targeted webinars, either to your customer base, to your partner base, and then bring into some form of call to action, right? We trained you. We all agree. We understand the market opportunity, and here's the next step for now identifying deals and winning together. And then certainly things that maybe are a little bit more, I guess, less informal, as I would describe them, getting in market and doing somewhat of a standard type lunch and learn, which is probably, in my opinion, least effective, but we still do them and they have some value. Leave you with some sales strategies and best practices. We have an unmanaged and a managed offering. And the managed offering is going to be, it comes with a higher price. There's no other way to describe that, but you get tremendous value, especially when companies are faced with doing some of these things that honestly are the plumbing themselves. Who wants to be patching servers? Is that core to your business, right? Are you able to respond 24/7 for some event or unplanned downtime? Why don't you let us help and handle that? The emphasis on security and compliance, right? Huge driver. We can help with the majority of our customers achieve standards and compliancy, and that's just based on best practices and policies and procedures that we're doing over and over and over again that are consistent with a lot of the regulations. And then thinking solution selling versus transactional selling. When I think of this, it's really, let's diagnose the problem before we just run and write a prescription. Thinking about what are the applications that are core to this organization's business, what's the stress on the business, and how can IT be leveraged more efficiently to solve those business challenges, right? Cost is, especially with cloud, I think there's a misnomer that cost is the biggest driver. Often it's not. Remaining competitive, getting to market faster, being able to scale as your business is growing, reducing risk. We talked about compliance and security. These are bigger drivers. I'm not saying cost is never not a driver. It's definitely important, but over and over again, it's not the biggest, because there's no guarantee that cloud, whether it's through RapidScale or through any one of these other type of options, is going to be cheaper. And on that point, a lot of folks think the hyperscalers are inexpensive. It's easy to get in there because you just swipe your credit card and it looks like it's going to be minimal. And all of a sudden, you've got a lot of applications and very dynamic databases and transaction-heavy workloads in that environment, and those costs are driving up. And we offer a much more predictable type solution. So recent client win, we just ended July, had a really good sales month, and a really key win that we got out of the Pacific Northwest. I didn't go in a ton of detail like I would in a typical anatomy of a deal, obviously to protect the customer, protect the partner, but we had in the retail sector, really nice coffee distributor. They had all these problems, right? Limited IT staff, aging infrastructure, and really needed to share files across the enterprise. You know, I had a point of sale environment that, you know, we described it as dysfunctional. And I don't even know if that's putting it nicely. However, the opportunity to come in and say, listen, with our managed cloud solutions, with our desktop as a service, our what you would call cloud desktop, cloud backup, cloud server, and what makes up more of an IT as a service model. Really nice solution, diagnosed the problem, presented it, won it with the partner, nice AKA type deal on a 3-year term, great win. And then I'm going to leave you with a couple things. When I think of like our brand and just, you know, I said a lot about the macro environment and who are these players and where we fit versus them. You know, we can go head to head with a lot of these companies and we do very nicely. And there's a lot of reasons why. And, you know, I think we've hit on some of them, but I really will tell you there's a market out there that's tremendously underserved. And when you think about doing business with us, you're doing business with a company that's entrepreneurial. We are laser focused on being easy to do business with. We're committed to superior customer experience. And then what I would tell you is every one of those organizations that I pointed out, as well as their peers, now I wouldn't want to put everyone in this bucket, but the vast majority of them, they've got direct sales teams. We're 100% committed and dedicated to the partner community. Without our partners, we don't sell. Some of them got really nice partner organizations. I've led them, and some of them put on a real good show, and they're doing pretty well and gaining a lot of share. But make no mistake, they're not 100% committed, not even close to the channel. In many cases, it is unfortunately a necessary evil, at least in their mind. Brand identity. You know, we believe we're a leader in the DaaS space. We do all these other things really well. Our disaster recovery as a service competes with the big boys really, really nicely. In fact, it's based on a lot of the same exact technology. We just do it more cost effectively, and we think our support model is superior. We also feel real comfortable in our target market. I believe firmly clarity is important. Where do we win? Line up this type of deal that looks like this, we're going to win. And then thinking about delivering the support models. Hey, you know what? We'll get our hands dirty with migrations. How do you actually get here? Our help desk extends to the end user, right? We'll go up the technology stack from an application support. And then competitive pricing models. By the way, there's not a lot of the companies out there that are not charging you for inbound and outbound bandwidth. We're not. Predictable user cost. You're gonna find a very unpredictable environment with many of these competitors. And then thinking about disaster recovery as a service, this will make sense to you if you really if you're well educated on the market. But the vast majority of these competitors, especially the ones that are in the, you know, that are considered maybe some of the leaders, they're charging you reservation for those resources the customer's not even using. We think we've got a little bit more agile pricing model that really is attractive. Before we wrap it up, want to make a few comments. The team, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you follow us on social media, it's no secret, we are in growth mode. And we are looking for talent. We'll be announcing some new hires, I'm confident, here very, very shortly. But channel managers, partner experience specialists, or business development folks. We've got some leadership positions as well. And we're looking for account managers. And we're also looking for folks on the technical side. It's an exciting time to be part of RapidScale. We're bullish than ever on the marketplace. We're darn proud of the culture that we've built, and we're really looking forward to growing with you. Get ready. Our technical training for August is coming with my good friend Dylan Bowders. He'll be leading. It's the third in the series of our security training, cloud security with Encapsula. So you won't want to miss that on the 16th of August at 9 a.m. Pacific. Summer, did we get any questions that have come through?
I don't see any on my end anymore.
Okay. I actually have one on chat. I'm not sure if it's something I can email back. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to protect this person, but it says, who is actually a good customer, or who isn't, what it reads, who is not a good customer for RapidScale. I mentioned who is, I guess, a good profile of the customer that really we would win with, and if you line up a customer with that type of characteristics, we feel really good about our chances. Who wouldn't be a good customer? I'll tell you this. I don't like that. I don't want to turn away business, but at the same time, I guess I wouldn't want to be that provider that says, hey, we'll take all comers, and we're going to go way off into the fairway and try to fix and solve every problem. So I think the best thing to say is we know what we do really well. That customer, big or small, that says, look, I want a one-stop shop to do everything. Like, for example, I want you to manage my compute resources, manage my voice resources. By the way, I've got this mid-range system that is very it's legacy, or maybe got some age on it. It's archaic. Can you manage that as well? The answer to that's probably no. we want to stick to what we do really well and ensure that we're increasing our chances for success. And really try to keep it as close to the fairway as possible. All right, that's it, gang. I know that blocks an hour, but as I mentioned last month, I like to keep these to 30 minutes. I think anything longer than that, we start to maybe lose attention span. God knows I do. So have a great month. We'll see you on the road, and if we can be of assistance, please let us know.